Hello, Cherie here from Longevity Lounge, and today I want to talk a little bit about this magnificent device here called the Matrix 22 Harmonizer. This is inspired by the work of Slim Sperling. He was around in the 90s. He was an incredible man. He was a humanitarian and he left an incredible legacy for us, which I call ancient solutions for modern technological pollution. These tools can be used for people, for plants, for pets, agriculture, for mechanical vehicles. It can be used for a number of different things. And a lot of people are understanding the power, coming back to understanding the power of copper. Now, this device is very, very special. It's a very, very popular item that I have for sale. Uh, I'd like to explain sort of what it's made of and then what it's actually doing. So the bottom, the base here is what we call orgonite. Now, for those that don't know what orgonite is a resin substance mixed with metal shavings, and it is the work of William Reich. It was originated from his work. And it is a substance that actually helps neutralize ionizing radiation and it accumulates life force energy. And so it's a very wonderful substance to have in the home for negating all sorts of negative effects of our modern technology. Now, on top of it is a series of rings of uh, the sacred royal ring size. So there are four of those. And then there are four of what we call the lost Becker cubit measurement. So the royal is very much for the physical body, the structural integrity, the mechanical function, for a person and for environmentally. And the lost Becker is for mental, emotional, it's for our light body, and it's for our DNA code reading. So you've literally got 8 rings in this device. In the center, you have an AccuVac coil. So an AccuVac coil, I did another video that talks about what an AccuVac coil is, but it's a very, very powerful sucking coil and transmuting coil. So it actually sucks and draws, and then it also gives a transmuted energy back when you flip it over to the other side. Inside the AccuVac coil is a crystal with a wire, and that wire is tied up with this wire here. And this wire has a jack on the end, and that jack can actually go into CD players, into old phones, new phones, but old phones if you want to play the frequencies often. And you can actually have just a set of headphones plugged into a device and put the headphones in here as well. So the beads are amplifiers. Slim Sperling drew his inspiration from Tesla. That's not the car Tesla. That's Tesla, the genius that invented free energy and electricity without wires. So these amplify the field, so to speak. Now, what this does is that just on its own, this device creates what we call a toroidal energy field. So it's actually emitting and in a sort of like a donut shape, it's coming back up through and going out again. So it actually creates a huge amount of light frequency emanating from it. And then when we play the frequencies through it, Slim Sperling had an incredible set of frequencies that he discovered. There's a bit of a story to that. But when he played the frequencies through this harmonizer device, he was able to clear the Denver air pollution. So Denver was a city in America in the 90s that was the most polluted city in America at the time. And he was so frustrated with that and he wanted to do something about it. So he got a few of these harmonizers and he played certain frequencies through them and he was able to clear the whole of the air pollution. And then that stabilized the weather patterns, and people were able to breathe better. And in fact, it had another effect. It had a mental, emotional effect on people. People weren't as aggressive because they weren't breathing in all this toxic pollution and stressing their whole body out. And so this is why they are called the harmonizers, because they harmonize the environment. They harmonize the people that are in the environment. So let's talk a little bit about the frequencies, because people ask me a lot, what are the frequencies, and why do you play them through this? So anytime you put frequencies through this device, this is an amplifying device. You're going to amplify the effect of those frequencies. Now, the story goes in Slim's book, when I read it, he talked about how he came across these frequencies, and it's a bit interesting. So apparently he lived in a valley, and then one of his friends lived in another valley, I think about 10 miles away from him. And one day he saw a rain-loaded cloud in the sky, and he got his royal sacred ring out. He called up his mate and said, "Would you like to do an experiment?" So as he was holding this ring up and pointing it to the cloud, his friend was with a very special device in the other valley, pointing his device to the cloud and recording the water molecules jumping and bouncing around in the cloud as the royal ring was being beamed up towards the cloud. And so there's these very interesting, very weird frequency sounds. And that's why it's good to actually play them through a device that you can plug in, so you don't actually have to hear the frequencies, because if you're going to play them frequently like I do, then you don't want to hear those all the time. Now, I'll tell you two really interesting stories about this. So the first experience I had is I had this in the center console of my car near my handbrake, and I was driving around, and I actually had my water bottle in another compartment just behind it. And I was running around doing lots of errands, and I'd had the frequencies playing with a CD in my car, because this is 90s technology, right? So it still comes with a CD, and I had a CD player in my car. And so I thought, oh, I'll give it a go. I'll while I'm driving around, I'll play the frequencies and I'll see what happens. Well, anyway, came to the sort of time for me to have a drink. And I picked up my water bottle, and this had been going sort of, for a little while. And I had a drink of my water, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, that's just bizarre. What is going on here? I sat it down. I picked it back up again. I had another drink. Wow, that's amazing. So it just had this quality of being silky smooth. Like, there's no other way to describe it other than it was just the water changed so much that it just felt like it was silk sliding down my throat. And I felt super, super energized. I felt very clear, very alert, sort of like having a cup of coffee without the cup of coffee. And so it was really amazing. And I remember a night when I was doing a bit of work, and I picked up my water bottle, I drank it. It was very late at night. It was sort of, 11:30 at night. And it energized me so much, I couldn't go to sleep till about 3 in the morning. I thought, oh, lesson learned. This is very energizing water. So it's very detoxifying. Slim talks about it in his book. And so you generally go slow when you're starting off with water that has had the frequency through it. And the other story I have to share is that I had a couple come to visit me, and they had a few things going on in their house. So they had a smart meter, solar inverter, they had obviously Wi-Fi modem, and they had an extender to that modem. They had battery storage and all sorts of different things. And so before I went round to their house, I called up my friend Ziggy, who is a amazing dowser, and I said, "Look, I'm about to deliver a harmonizer to these people's home. Would you be able to get a read on the house before I do? Because once I bring it into the home, we're not going to be able to check." So she kindly got the address and did her dowsing. She's been doing dowsing for 30 years, so she definitely knows what she's doing. And she said, I've picked up that, whoa, there's something going on with the neighbor. And I happened to know that there was something going on with the neighbor, but she didn't know that. Well, she said, yeah, there's definitely some full-on energy there. And I think most of it's coming from the neighbor. Anyway, well, I pulled up this house. I'd never been there before. On the corner was this neighbor's house, and I just took one look at the house and I thought, there's a lot of trouble going on. A lot of disturbed energy in that house. There's just so many signs you can see. It was quite visual to me. And anyway, so apparently this lady had this mental health condition that some people would possibly call bipolar. So she was terrorizing her neighborhood and she was disturbing everyone. And so anyway, when my friend Ziggy checked in with, she said, "Oh, there's something going on with the neighbor," and then she thought that it might have to do with an energetic attachment, an energetic interference, a very big, powerful one. And so anyway, we put the harmonizer in the home, and Ziggy's very, very good at following up and measuring how the energy shifts and changes after things are adjusted. And she was absolutely blown away by the shift and the change in the energy of this environment, of this house that we put it in. So much so that she said it's having a positive impact on the neighbor as well. So I'm very keen and curious to find out. That was only a few weeks ago, and I'm still waiting for that couple to come back to me and give me some feedback on how well behaved their neighbor is or not. We're always curious, we're always open, we're always suggesting that you do your own experimentation with this technology so that you have your own felt experience and your own, your own story to share with others. So, folks, that is the Matrix Harmonizer 22. This is probably one of my most favorite tools from the work and inspiration of Slim Sperling, and a very, very powerful device. It goes for kilometers and kilometers and kilometers. Some people say even hundreds of kilometers. I think that's what Slim was saying back in the day. We have a lot more technology pollution from when he was doing this in the 90s and the early 2000s, but it's still a very, very powerful, very impactful device. And for those people that are on Instagram, Facebook, I did a little post where my friend Ziggy brought one of these into her home, and she talks about what it did to some of her plants. So if you want to go on and have a look at that post, it's a very amazing little post on what happened to her when she bought one of these in her home. So thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in and learning about ancient technologies for our modern technological pollution. And I look forward to meeting you one day if you're going past the Yamundi markets and you want to call into the Longevity Lounge. Otherwise, I'll meet you online. Thanks for listening.